Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we're back looking at the anniversary sale stuff since it's been updated since yesterday, because obviously the community has picked what packs they want to have on offer. On top of this as well, we're going to go through the GE premiums that are now available in War Thunder itself, so you can pick them up as well. And also, it seems yesterday a lot of people were unhappy with the sales, which I can understand. If you want my personal opinion on the sales, for me, I think a good mixture between the bundles that we have, but also bringing back the old system, which was of course 50% off packs which were brought into the game before this last year, would have been a nice little, addition. I think both of them working together would be the best, at least for the community in general, and personally the best in my opinion. Also, on top of this as well, we also have the Christmas sale, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes. A lot of people took the videos that I made yesterday as supporting these anniversary sales. No, those videos are just basically going through what I believe are the best vehicles to pick up for the prices that are available. There is no opinion when it comes to the sale themselves. It's just to give you the information about the specific vehicles. It was very odd seeing the kickback that was aimed at me when it came to these sales. It's not as if I have a choice on, whether they exist or not. It's just me relaying information to you and giving my opinion on the vehicles. On top of this as well, I do share a lot of what seems to be the community opinion about the 50% stuff. So just don't jump the gun when it comes to trying to work out where my headspace is. The next thing as well is we'll start off with what the packs are on offer on top of it, or the community picked packs. We've got the Wyvern pack, of course, $15, the Japanese Saber, the IS-6 T29, the King Tiger or the Tiger II SLAR, then of course the Carl Golster, which is kind of a surprise, and then the Votor 2A. So yesterday, just remember, if you want the if you want the spreadsheet, it is available in the description, which gives you a breakdown or a cost breakdown of all of the packs that are on offer. On sheet 2, you have all of the packs. So you can see that the 2 packs that I personally would have liked to see, just because they are the most money efficient, is the Scout pack and the Mustang pack. They didn't make it through, but the Wyvern pack, which makes the Wyvern incredibly cheap. It's $3.39 if you take away everything else. Really good pickup. The JAS DF Saber as well is also pretty cheap at $7.40, and the surprising one to me is the Z20, which is sad here. The fact that the Germans have, of course, the Admiral Hipper, but at the same time, if we just look at recency bias, you've got the Pensacola and the Hawkins. I thought the Cowl would make it through before the Z20 Carl Golster, but instead, it seems like the Z20 made it for some odd reason. The worst value for money packs are the IS-6 and the T29. For me, when it comes to the IS-6, as I said yesterday, it is now one of those vehicles in the game which has, well, because it's got up BR'd and also got its armor fixed, the problem it has is that it now falls into a lot of realms that a lot of Soviet heavies do, where its gun, as long as you penetrate it, does a lot of damage, but the problem is the penetration on it means that against other heavies and also with the vehicles, it can struggle. If it gets up-tiered into 7.7, which it will a lot of the time, the M103 and vehicles with heat FS in general will just eat through your armor. The Leopard 1 stuff, such as the M60s, even the M48, which just got reduced to 7.3, all of these vehicles can eat the IS-6 without it really thinking. Even though they just reduced, the pen on heat FS, to less than what it is right now. You can check, I believe, on the Leopard 1, if we can just find it here. Good old Leopard 1. It does have night vision as well now. Now you can see it got reduced to 400. That's still enough to be able to go through everything the IS-6 offers frontally. So yeah, the reduction in penetration for stuff like that doesn't really matter too much for this vehicle. You can still go through its whole turret. You can still go through everything. The IS-6's strengths are the speed. Well, it's pretty much the combination of everything, right? The Dishka, the speed of the vehicle, the general angles of the vehicle, and also the gun when it's able to penetrate. It just does have some negative factors: long reload, less gun depression, and also survivability, very much determined by the fact that if you face heat FS or not. So overall, I think with this, I think it's the worst deal out of them, unless you know, unless you talk about the Votor 2A. The reason why is because the Votor 2A, so it depends how you see it, right? So overall, just from the capabilities, the IS-6 is a lot less than the rest of them because of the place where it is in BR-wise and because of the negatives that I just mentioned. The Votor 2A, if you want to use it as like this pseudo-fighter, then I also think it's not in a great position. It also, value for money-wise, isn't the best, but it is at least up there with the average. The problem with the Votor is that it doesn't turn. Its speed is key, and the problem is now you have a lot of vehicles that are faster than it. It's as simple as that. And also its missiles are not the best in the business. But if you want to use it as a bomber, or if you want to use it as a ground attacker, then it still is an incredibly good vehicle. So if you want to turn off your brain, bomb some things, then maybe use it as a pseudo-fighter, then it's a pretty good pickup if you want to grind out the French tech tree. But if you want to use it as an out-and-out fighter, there are just much better options available to you, and it may be worth just grinding through, you know, the French tree with something like a Yak 3 at the end of the day. So yeah, the King Tiger is also a good pickup at $20. What you find though is its per vehicle stat is $8.39 overall. Once you take away the 1000 GE and the premium account for 7 days, it's got good survivability. Very good gun on it, good stabilized gun, good gun depression, you know, it's just a better version of the one that's in the tech tree, which has always been a little bit odd to me, how this vehicle is just allowed to stay at the same BR, even though it is just a better version, you know. It has everything you want from a heavy tank at 6.7. It just isn't as good as the premium tank at 6.7, which is also on this list, the big old T29. I think the T29, if we just look at the ground vehicles here, out of this area, if we compare the T29, the King Tiger, and the IS-6, the first thing that comes to mind is value-wise, the T29 is the lowest as well. You know, per vehicle, $11.39, same level as the IS-6, so not as good as the King Tiger, but at the end of it, you are getting the best vehicle for its BR. And in my opinion, this vehicle beats the Tiger II SLAR. It's got very similar characteristics when it comes to speed, has better gun depression, slightly longer reload, but this gun can penetrate anything it wants on a Tiger. Like, it just is able to batter it to death whenever it feels like it. Like, if we have a look at the Tiger II SLAR right now, you can see what I mean. And also the survivability of the T29 is higher, just because of the fact it doesn't have a shot trap when it comes to its turret, and also when it comes to the general gun, you're able just to do a bunch of, where is it? There it is. You're able to just do a bunch of damage to, you know, the Tiger II when you face it. So you can see here, you can easily just pen its turrets with your normal round, and what that does is it just explodes the turret, and because there's always ammo in the back of the turret, it's able to just pop it. So it's very simple to kill a Tiger II with something like a T29, where with a Tiger II to kill a T29, you either have to very, very precisely shoot it in the turret, which is not easy to do, especially on a moving turret, or you have to low glacis it and just absolutely smash it in a place. So whenever a Tiger II is looking at you in a T29, the T29 can easily penetrate the Tiger either side, and no matter what side you hit it with, it's going to hit the ammo because of the explosion of the round, and it's going to do a lot of damage to us. Then you have the APCR round if you really want to use it. I personally wouldn't. As you can see, it just doesn't do enough damage as usual. You might as well just use, you know, the APCBC that is available to you. Or you could use, you know, the HE just to kind of have a bit of fun, but it doesn't really do anything to the machine itself. For me, the T29 is the best premium at 6.7, just because it has pretty much everything attached to it. It's got the slightly better reload than some of the larger guns. It's got good armor all over it. It's got 6 crew members, which is insanely good, and also it has speed to move around in. I would definitely say this is a pickup for the 6-7 lineup for America, which is already incredibly strong. The Carl Golster is just a better version of a tech tree destroyer at the same BR, so why not just pick it up? It's average when it comes to its general cost per vehicle compared to the rest of them, and as well, you know, premium account 15 days, 2000 GE shouldn't be overlooked. For me, if you can get the destroyer premiums at a good price, like they were last year and this year, it's always worth it if you want to grind the trees, just because you're getting a better vehicle than what you'd normally be used to, which is as simple as that. I know a lot of people are going to say, well, you know, the Carl Golster, if you have a look at it, it has issues, you know, when it comes to its main armament. They did actually just add 2 more destroyers to the Germans, which is kind of cool. You know, a lot of people will bring up the fact that it only has access to HE, and my answer is, so do all of the other German boats. You know, it's an unfortunate thing, but it's not like this is only an issue with the Golster. So if it is an issue across the whole, you know, set of boats, then therefore we can discount it because of the fact that no matter, it could be a problem with all of them. So it's kind of negated by that. So yeah, if I was going to rank these in order, I would say the Wyvern pack is probably the best pickup, just because of the value for money that you get out of it, and also the fact that the Wyvern is useful in ground and air, and can be used in this multi-role facet like we talked about yesterday. I think if you want to grind out the Japanese, the JASDF Saber is a good pickup. Obviously, it's very good value for money, and also the highest BR vehicle, I think, here, unless it's the Votor. It might be the Votor. We'll have a look. The Votor is 9.0, so no, this is the highest BR premium that, you know, is in this list, 9.3, and with that, you know, you get the best deal out of it, at least, you get the most average deal out of it, which is good for the highest vehicle, and it will be useful for grinding out the trees for a long time to come. Also has access to air, so you can have a bit of fun with that. Yes, you'll come up with incredibly good planes because, you know, they'll be higher level than you, such as 10.3s and 10.0s, but you'll learn to deal with it in time, and if you don't, you'll still get really good research. The A6M5 Co is still a solid pick if you're uncomfortable with using stuff like jets, so pick that up instead, along with the Pacific pack. IS-6, nah. I've already talked about it. T29 is good, so I think it goes first, second for the JSDF, T29 is third, and then it goes King Tiger, Z20, Votor, and then IS-6. But obviously it comes down to what you want to grind, but at the end of the day, those would be the way that I see them. So the next one is, of course, the GE premiums. One of the things that we talked about the other week. The problem is, though, we didn't see the prices. Now we know the prices, so let's have a look. The Pattern 2 for Germany is on offer for GE, 7.3 vehicle in the army. It is actually kind of bolstered by the fact that the M48 got moved down to 7.3, and then also the BMP-1 is at 7.3, and then if you have a look at the air as well, you've got, of course, the Polk, the Horton, you've got the ME262. It's actually a really good lineup at that level, which is really nice, mainly down to the BMP and the Polk and stuff that you can bring in. The M48 is an okay vehicle. The problem is, of course, the stock grind that we've talked about before, but once you get past that, it's pretty good. The M47, this is where, when you compare the two vehicles, the M47 kind of loses out. So the M47, overall, it has a worse reload rate, but the main problem with it is its gun depression and gun stabilization. One of the things about the Pattern 2 is that when it's stock, it is a horrific vehicle to deal with. Luckily, you don't have to deal with it when it's stock, when it's the German premium, M47. But what you do have to deal with is the fact that out of all of the American tanks, from about 6.7 and above, this is the only one which has absolutely no gun depression. This thing only has 5 degrees worth of gun depression, and there are sources out there claiming that it has 10 degrees of gun depression, but we're not going to go into that now. Right now, that is the limiting factor for this machine. Its armor is, not very good, but you don't really expect it to be. It's going to bounce some shots sometimes in very weird circumstances, but the fact that getting gun on target with no stabilizer, no stabilization, is hard in the M47 is the problem that this machine has. It does have access to HeatFS though, 320mm pen, also night vision and rangefinder, has a lot of great attributes to it, but at the same time, just the gun handling is horrific in it against a lot of machines that you're going to fight, whether they're at 6.7, 7.0, 7.3, or even up to 8.3. And to be honest, looking at the vehicle being only a rank 5 at 7.3, is it worth picking up for 8,200 GE? 8,200 GE, if we have a look at it, is around about $50 for this vehicle. And since it has these problems when it comes to its gun handling, when it comes to its gun depression, I would just say there's no real point in picking this one up just because of those facts. And hitting it with $50, I mean, that's crazy. Just buy the King Tiger for 20. just go and buy that, play a bunch of 6.7, get a bunch of SL, and have a bit of fun. And just let this wait until it goes down in price, maybe for the next sale, because I find it very hard to justify $50 for that vehicle. On top of this as well, you have the Martin Baker. Now, I've talked about the Martin Baker in the past having many issues, and it does have many issues when it comes to its 5.0 nature. It has 420mm Hispanos, but they are Mark IIs, so understand that these are going to kind of go all over the place, so you also have to worry about convergence and stuff like that. And of course, it has the wonderful propeller here, which has the Griffin engine attached to it. The problem is the rate of climb, though. The MB5 feels a lot heavier than other aircraft, and it takes too long to get going. It's just like the Corsair, it's just like other machines like a stock P-51, where half of your team will be dead before you get into position to fight. And if you're a person who can carry from 5 planes down, then, good on you. This plane can work for you. But for me, it just isn't one of those things that I'm personally able to do. On top of this as well, when facing Japan, Germany and Italy, the 3 nations you'll fight in the MB5, you'll have a lot of planes that outclimb you and a lot of planes that will just have better speeds than you at those higher altitudes. The MB5, when it comes to its mid-altitude performance, is incredibly good, but everything else definitely isn't the best. The clip wings make it so it can at least turn decently, but at the speeds that you're generally going in this, because this is not a plane where you want to be going at low speeds because you'll just be annihilated by Germans, it doesn't really help too much. The main thing that is holding this plane back, though, is the fact that it only really has one role, and that is the sole fighter role. And with 4 Hispano Mark IIs, on top of the problems already talked about, you can't really bring it into a ground setting, even though it does kind of fit alongside the Wyvern and, all the other ground stuff like the Comet and the Sherman Firefly and stuff like that if you want to bring it in. But it doesn't really fit the air superiority role because it can't really turn too well and it relies on its speed too much, especially against things like BF-109s, which are incredibly good in the air superiority role when it comes to ground forces. So for me, it's an unfortunate miss, but if you are interested in history and you are interested in plane development, the MB5 is a must, and I hope that its brother gets put into the game as well. I believe it's the MB3. It's the one that was made before the one that you see here. I'm really looking forward to that if it ever gets added. The next one is the Key 87. Now, the Key 87 is another one of these machines, which is sat at quite a high price, 6,090 GE. That accounts to what, maybe, let's say, $35, $40. So $35, $40 for a rank 4 6.0 vehicle, which has access to a lot of ammunition, which is its main great attribute. Two 30mm and two 20mm are very much enough with the ammunition it has to take out anything that it feels like. The main issue this has, it has a lot of competition at this PR when it comes to good premiums. So even though the Key 87 has good speed, it has okay climb rates, but not very good compared to its Japanese counterparts, and it's okay turn time. You know, this is kind of, in a way, a perfect premium, right? Because it's a decent vehicle, it's decent to fly, got good firepower, but its characteristics are not as good as the ones in the tech tree. So therefore, it will be better at certain things compared to other planes, such as it will be better than something like a Zero at being able to keep its speed, but it won't be as good in turning. So it does have good characteristics compared to the ones that you'll normally use. But at the same time, because of that fact, it is hard to recommend it, because why not just use tech tree vehicles, or why not use a similar vehicle at the same BR? You got to remember, the A6M5 Co is a rank 4 vehicle, right? That means that it's good enough to get, rank 5 and below. And I'm wondering if it's actually on sale right now. I'll just have to check really quick. Because the A6M5 is a really good pickup. No, how about this? Pacific. Let's go there. There we go. So the Pacific campaign, right? And right now it's $14.99. So you get the A6M5 Co, you get premium account for 15 days and 850 Gs, plus the Japanese Pacific campaign, which is something I will eventually play through in the channel. You can find it... Huh? Oh, naff off. You can find it in this area here. So with that said, because the A6M5 is at 4.7 but at rank 4, it's exactly the same research values when it comes to being able to research rank 5 and below than the Key 87. The Key 87 just gets a little bit more of a percentage when it comes to its RP in a single battle. So it gets about, what, 30% more RP, 35% more RP, and they get the same Silver Lions reward. It is really hard to, pick the Key 87 over something like an A6M5 if you're just looking for research purposes to pick up a plane. And also, if you compare the Key 87 to, let's say, the Key 84s, the Key 84s, they pretty much just do exactly what the Key 87 does, just in a better capacity, because they're able to climb better, they're able to dive about the same, and the J2Ms are amazing planes. I don't know how else to put it, but the J2s in general are my favorite planes in War Thunder to fly. Incredibly good machines. So it's hard to justify the price of this one, especially with something like this existing, and also the fact that you have really good competition for it at that BR. It's much better just to play through these vehicles in Japan, because they're just really fun to use. Like, they're incredibly fun to use. So just pick them up and have some fun with them. The next one is the G55S Centauro. So this one, out of the first four, is one that I can definitely recommend. And the reason for this is because the G55S Centauro is a very good multi-role machine, which is an incredibly strong fighter, which is supported by really good allies at 4.7. You got stuff like the C205 N2, the G55 Series 1, and if you get upted, the 2005, the Reggiani, the BF109G1, and also the G56. It's just an insanely good lineup. And the G55S, as you can see, 750% SL reward on this thing. Really good for that. It has access to 3 MG151s. It has really good climb rates, really good turn rates. It's one of those jack-of-all-trades Italian fighters that can pretty much do everything when it comes to air-to-air combat. It can turn pretty well, it can dive pretty well, It can keep its speed pretty well. The only problems it has is when you come up against a fighter which is solely one playstyle, and if you can't adapt against that playstyle, or you can't play defensively enough to deal with that playstyle, then the G55S struggles. But that's really easy to do. It's really easy to identify, when if you're facing an enemy plane, they're going to be really good in certain circumstances, like the P-51. The P-51 is going to be really good in a dive circumstance. When it has speed, it's always going to have a really good 1 or 2 turns, and then after those, you can easily beat it. So you defensively fly for 2 turns, and then you start pulling hard to beat him. If it comes to something like a P-38, it's going to take them a little bit longer to get up to altitude, but they're going to be higher than you. They're going to be able to fight you well at high altitude. So what you do is you go to mid to low altitude with something like a G55S, help out allies, and when the P-38 runs out of allies, then he's going to start getting desperate, and you have to basically defensively fly a little bit. He's going to make a mistake. You're going to screw him up. It's just as simple as that. So when it comes to the meta of War Thunder, the idea of climbing to a certain position, engaging, and then driving people down, the Italian planes fit it so well, and the G55S does as well. Another thing as well is if you're on a map like Norway, and you really don't like Norway or something like that, you can just take a torpedo and be able to annihilate a destroyer or some form of ship, get a ton of SL for it. The other ones as well, you have access to 250s and 200s, which aren't too useful if we're being honest. So yeah, when the Italian Navy comes out, of course having torpedo fighters is always nice to see, so hopefully the G55S gets a bit more use in that, but it is one of those really good air superiority fighters alongside all of the Italian tech tree. The only difference between it, I suppose, and the other, well, the only reason not to get the G55, as I've said many times before, is just play the Italian tech tree. It's really nice to play. It's really nice to play all these fighters. They all act incredibly similarly, just with slightly different characteristics. You get on really nice teams, and overall, you fit the meta really well. So if you want to have a natural grind, this is probably the easiest and funnest in the game when it comes to being, competitive and doing well. But if you just want to blast through it and get to really cool jets like the G91 and also maybe later jets, which will eventually come, the G55S is a good pickup. It's also cheaper than some of the other ones. The IS-2-44 Revenge of the Hero Brother. Now for me, I would definitely say that the IS-2 is way overpriced for what you get here. 7,480 GE for this machine. It's a rank 4, battle rating 6.3 machine, and the main difference between it and the one that you see in the tech tree is it doesn't have the add-on armor and it doesn't have the Dishka on top. So it's just a worse version of the IS-2-1944 that you find right here. It's as simple as that. It doesn't get this, and it also doesn't get the Dishka, which you find on top, this one right here. So overall, it's actually a good premium. It's a historical premium, which you are getting, you're getting less on than the tech tree vehicle. So from that sense, from my general opinion, it's a great premium in the game, but if you're looking for a competitive vehicle, the IS-2 is just not the one to go for. The IS-2 used to be very good until certain things were changed. The DeMar formula was introduced, but the main thing that screwed up the IS-2 was stuff like the T-29 started to exist, the T-34 for the Americans started to exist, the British with their stabilizers started to exist, and your gun stopped lol penning a lot of things. This IS-2 cannot pen frontally stuff like the Tiger IIs. It can pen frontally stuff like the T-29s, but incredibly rarely. It cannot face up to other vehicles and pen them reliably. And when your gun nearly has a 30-second reload, you need to be able to pen whatever you face reliably, and that's not what this can do. It also has terrible gun depression. It has good speed, though, for a heavy, and decent armor for the BR, but at the same time, you face too many targets where you look at and go, where the hell do I shoot this thing? And then you realize you can't, and then you realize they can lol pen your turret because of the fact that these cheeks are only 100 millimeters right here. Okay? Like, the upper glacis and lower glacis generally are actually pretty well armored. The problem is the turret. So for me, the IS-2, just like its brother, the IS-2 1944, really struggles with the fact that the gun took a massive hit when the DMR formula was introduced, and also the armor just does not stack up to the power creeped heavies that were added at the 6.7 BR, which is a BR you're going to get uptiered into a lot too. So yeah, you've got the stabilizers from Britain, which will twat you wherever you look. You have the German heavies, which can twat you wherever you look. And then you've got the American heavies to do exactly the same thing. So there's no hope for the IS-2 44, and unfortunately, it's way too expensive as well. 7,480 for a 6.3 rank 4 vehicle. No, sir. Why not just pick up the IS-6? Like, put it like this, right? The IS-2 Revenge, 7,480. It's around about what? Maybe $50, $45? Should we say something like that? Maybe, yeah, about $45, $50. And then the IS-6, the big brother, which will be as effective as the IS-2, it will be more effective than the IS-2, is 20. And you also get 1,000 G in 7 days of premium. Like, just pick this up. It's a much better offer on the table right there. The next vehicle in our list is the Char B1 Ter. This is an easy pickup for everybody who wants to be annoying as hell, and I'll actually go into order it right now. So the B1 Ter is a solid purchase for anybody who wants to be able to do operations without even really thinking. The B1 Ter came into the game at the same BR as the B1 BIS, which was hilarious because it was just a better B1 BIS. Luckily, that was changed and rectified. Now it's at 2.3 and the BIS is at 2.0. But now that this thing is at 2.3, it's still a monster, and it means that you can bring along the SAU 40, which is an incredibly depressing tank, but the B1 BIS, which is the one that you want to have a bit of fun with. So basically, take a B1 BIS, and what you do is you add armor to it. That's a B1 Ter. Now the B1 BIS is already pretty tanky. The B1 Ter has 70mm on the front, including a turret of 75mm and 56 on the sides. The only place where a lot of vehicles at 2.3 can reliably pen you is this little area here, which is 25mm, the horizontal drive for the turret, and that only knocks out one crew member when this thing has 4. The survivability of the B1 Ter is incredibly large, especially since it has extra armor on the side as well, meaning that if you angle effectively, there is no way anything can pen you. It also has access to the 75mm with 64mm of pen. This will destroy any light or medium tank you'll find, and then the 47 has 62mm of pen as well. So it does have quite a long reload. It has insane gun depression though, 18 degrees in total, and a rough turret rotation speed, but you can get past all of those things because of the fact that you have the 2 guns set up. The other thing that is a negative for the B1 Ter is the fact that this commander does so much. You know, he loads the gun, he fires the gun, he aims the gun, he does everything. So if he gets knocked out, your actual usability is knocked out by probably about 50% because of one guy going down. And once he's replaced, obviously you back up to that decent effectiveness. But at the same time, it can be really annoying when he gets hit. So the B1 Ter, because it's also ranked 2, it can generally be used for stuff like Operation Heat and Operation Shipyard, and you can just take it out and roll teams because of the fact that it has this extra armor and also decent penning guns. As if you have also an expert crew or an ace crew, which I'm sure a lot of people have, the engine power on the B1 Ter is also something to be marveled at. 30 kilometers an hour forward on this machine, meaning that you can really just run at the enemy if you feel like. Get in a squad of these 3 things or 4 things and just batter whatever faces you. It will be just insane to face these. Let's actually take up the Stuart, because I think the Stuart is one of the only vehicles which can actually deal with this thing in a decent way, if I remember. Yeah, it's got 87mm of pen, so even with the Stuart, look at the upper glacis. So we're looking straight at it, so there's no real angles here, apart from angles on the armor. You can see that the majority of this, even this bit, possible penetration is low, right? You can't pen any of this, right? None of this can be penned. The turret, there are a few little areas basically around the gun itself where it's still going to be dodgy to pen, and also you're not even killing the commander. But the turret ring is the only real place where if you're looking at the B1 Tur that you can pen. And this is with one of the best vehicles at 2.3, right? And look at the sides as well. You just can't pen them either. You can pen the side of the turret, that's what you have to go for, or you go for the road wheel to slow it down, hit the transmission, and then get behind the booty and just keep putting shots into here, or keep putting shots into here. And even the back, look at the damn back, 83mm on the back. This thing is just a tank at 2.3. And remember, the Stuart, for me, is one of the best vehicles at 2.3, and it finds it nearly impossible to deal with this monolith of a machine. It's a wonderful vehicle to have for stuff like events. I personally am not going to play it, just because it's one of those vehicles where even though it's really good, I think it's too good. There are a few vehicles like this. The KV-1B for Germany, the RU-251, is another one of those things, and also the B1 Tur adds on to this. I think it's too good of a vehicle to touch, and I think it's generally one of those ones to leave. That's how good I praise the vehicle. The last one is the Black Cat. So of course the Hellcat, or the M18 as it's known. This is in, let's see, right here, 2,980 at rank 3, so a lot fairer pricing. Now when it comes to the GE price, this is just the same as the one which you see in the tech tree, apart from it doesn't have side skirts and it doesn't have a muzzle brake. Everything else is exactly the same when it comes to its ammunition, when it comes to its armor, so it will get hull broken, you know, you will be able to speed about like a crazy person, and you do get a pretty nice decal layout. For me personally, when I look at the Black Cat, I look at a machine which is really fun to use. If you've ever used the Hellcat, or if you haven't used the Hellcat, it's a machine that can go and cap points. It's a machine that you can just run around in. It does really well against the meta of 5.3, like the Tiger and the Panther meta, because the gun has good penetration on it. It's got good gun depression, it's got good turret rotation, good reloading speed. The only problem is its armor, and if you're one of those individuals who just runs around the map and goes crazy, then your armor doesn't really matter too much to you. It also, because of the speed of this machine, because it's really fast, you can get into areas really quickly that people don't expect you to be in. So therefore you can really catch the enemy off guard. I would say this is a great pickup just for that fact. It is a really fun and interesting premium when it comes to just general playstyle. You can also run it with the Jumbo and the other Hellcat, or you can run it with something like the 76 M4 and also stuff like the 47 planes or the 50 planes as well. So yeah, it's a definite pickup for me when it comes to it. So looking at the list to rank them, the B1 Tur comes first, easily, then the G55S is second, the Black Cat is third, then we get into the weeds. So the MB5 is fourth, Key 87 is fifth, but those definitely are interchangeable. Then the Patton 2 is sixth, and that's solely because of the issues with the gun handling. I just can't stand its gun. And unfortunately, the IS2 is last, mainly because of the cost. It's way too high, and also the fact that the gun just cannot reliably do anything with a crazy long reload. I hope this video helps you with your decisions when it comes to the anniversary sales, and also I hope you all have a wonderful day. I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Ambrosius McClellan, B. Young, Blackie, Daniel Stanton, Jay Wilt, John Ryman, Joseph Anders, Martinez, Moxie, Super Cacti, Uyins Terry, Elove Goat, and Seductive Trash Can for supporting the channel.